On his 23rd birthday, I watched his so-called best friend sip from his glass, feed him shrimp and wrap herself in the jacket I had given him, while he laughed and told the table I wasn't the petty type. That was the moment I realized, he didn't just tolerate her games, he enjoyed them. He liked watching me hurt, liked being the prize we were supposed to fight over. But I wasn't going to be their audience anymore. If he wanted drama, I would rewrite the script. He thought he was the star of this story. He forgot who was holding the pen. The private dining hall was overflowing with chatter, laughter, and the kind of smug energy that only came from a roomful of Daniel Cross's friends. The restaurant had gone all out. Balloons spelling out his name arched across the entrance, champagne bottles sat chilling in ice, and the long mahogany table gleamed under the chandelier. I smoothed down my dress before stepping inside, willing myself to smile. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration after all. Daniel's 23rd birthday. I had told myself on the cab ride here that no matter how unbearable his crowd could be, I would keep my cool. Daniel stood near the center of the room, tall and broad-shouldered, that natural charisma of his drawing people in like moths to light. He was laughing at some joke his friend Logan had cracked, tilting his head back, the sound echoing warmly. His arm was loose around my shoulders when I reached him, and for a moment, I let myself enjoy the illusion that I belonged here. "Elena," he said, pressing a quick kiss to my temple. "You made it." "Of course." I forced cheer into my voice. "Wouldn't miss it." He beamed. Around us, his friends, most of whom barely acknowledged me, were already pulling him back into conversation. I perched quietly beside him, reminding myself that being ignored was better than being noticed in the wrong way. And then, as if summoned by fate itself, Clara Hayes made her grand entrance. The door swung open and in swept Clara, all waves of glossy brown hair and a dress cut just a little too short for modesty. She moved like she owned the air around her, her heels clicking with a confidence that made heads turn. "Danny," she called, stretching out his nickname like taffy as though she hadn't seen him in years. My stomach tightened. They all said Clara was like a sister to him. That phrase had been repeated so many times I could recite it in my sleep. But sisters didn't show up to your birthday party wearing designer perfume and batting their lashes like that. Daniel's face lit up. "Clara." He moved toward her instinctively, arms out for a hug. She returned it enthusiastically, her lips brushing his cheek. "Happy birthday, idiot," she said playfully. I clenched my jaw. Before I could even process the annoyance churning in me, Clara slid into the seat right across from Daniel. The server placed glasses of water on the table, and without missing a beat, Clara reached forward and picked up Daniel's cup. She lifted it to her lips, took a sip and then set it down with deliberate slowness. "Oh no." She widened her eyes, fake innocence dripping from her expression. "Danny, this was yours? I must have grabbed it by mistake. How careless of me." The group chuckled as though this were the most charming slip a woman could make. "Daniel," he just laughed. "Don't worry about it. Keep it. I'll get another glass." And just like that, the stage was hers. Clara pouted, giving his arm a playful punch. "Don't be silly. Since when did we become so distant? We used to share drinks all the time. Back then you never minded." Every gaze at the table shifted toward me, searching for a reaction. Would I lash out? Would I demand she stop? They waited like it was entertainment. Daniel, oblivious or pretending to be, patted my hand under the table. "Don't worry," he said casually to the crowd. "Elena's not the petty type." I pulled my hand away, my smile stiffening. "Not petty. Sure. Let's go with that." Clara smirked, victory glittering in her eyes. The servers wheeled in the main dish. A steaming platter of shrimp drizzled with garlic and chili. The scent filled the air, rich and heady. Daniel rolled up his sleeves, ignoring the teasing jeers of his friends, and began peeling shrimp with practiced ease. It was a habit he'd picked up because of me. Months ago, during one of our first dinners together, I'd pricked my hand while trying to peel shrimp myself. He'd immediately whisked me to the nearest clinic, overreacting so badly that even the doctor had chuckled. Ever since, he insisted on peeling shrimp for me. I remembered that version of Daniel, the boy who fussed over me at the smallest wound. Looking at him now, smiling warmly as he placed shrimp in my bowl, the memory felt bitter. Clara leaned forward, resting her chin on her palm. "Danny, we've known each other for years, haven't we?" Her voice carried a touch of exaggerated wistfulness. "And not once have you peeled shrimp for me. Elena, you're truly blessed. You don't even have to peel your own food. The words were light, but the implication was sharp. Daniel chuckled. That's different. Elena's my girlfriend. It's only natural I take care of her. If you want shrimp, ask your boyfriend. Clara sighed, fluttering her lashes. I'd feel terrible making him do something so bothersome. I'd rather not eat shrimp at all. Then with deliberate flair she reached across, plucked a peeled shrimp from the platter and dropped it into Daniel's bowl. Here. Consider it a gift. Eat it for me. Daniel didn't hesitate. He lifted the shrimp with his chopsticks and popped it into his mouth. The group burst into laughter again. My own shrimp sat untouched, cold and unappetizing in my bowl. I set my chopsticks down. Clara smirked, chin tilted high as though she'd won a secret battle no one else could see. It didn't stop there. Minutes later, Clara began rubbing her arms dramatically. Daniel, it's freezing in here. Could I borrow your jacket? Freezing? The thermostat on the wall glowed a very warm 30 degrees Celsius. I almost laughed. Daniel shrugged off his coat, the one I'd given him for our 6-month anniversary, and draped it over her shoulders without missing a beat. Who told you to wear such a short skirt? He teased. Style over comfort, Clara. You get what you deserve. She giggled, tucking herself into his jacket. Well, not everyone has a gentleman to rescue them. And then she looked straight at me. That smug, taunting glance was unmistakable. Daniel, I said tightly. Isn't that the jacket I gave you? Clara froze for half a second. Oh. I didn't realize. Sorry, Elena. But she didn't remove it. Daniel waved it off. It's just a jacket. Don't be upset, Elena. She's cold. From behind his shoulder, Clara smiled at me. That was it. The last shred of patience I had evaporated. The air around me reeked of cheap perfume and green tea and I couldn't breathe. I excused myself, pushing my chair back and walked out into the balcony. The night air was sharp against my skin. For the first time that evening I felt like I could breathe. Inside they were laughing, joking, clinking glasses. But out here alone I let the truth sink in. Clara wasn't subtle. Daniel wasn't blind. He simply liked it. Liked being fought over, like the ego boost of 2 women pulling at his attention. I wrapped my arms around myself, staring out at the glittering skyline, and wondered if I was really going to waste another second on this farce. The night air cooled the heat burning under my skin. The balcony stretched wide, lined with fairy lights that glimmered faintly against the glass railing, framing the city skyline beyond. From here I could hear the muffled sounds of laughter inside the private room, but they felt far away, like echoes from a party I no longer belonged to. I let out a long breath. Tonight was supposed to be Daniel's night. I told myself I could endure his friends, endure Clara's antics. But watching her drink from his glass, peel shrimp for him, wear my jacket, it was like death by 1,000 cuts. And Daniel? He hadn't just allowed it. He'd enjoyed it. The heavy glass door slid open behind me. I didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Elena. Clara's voice rang soft and syrupy, dripping with a sweetness so fake it could rot teeth. I turned slowly. There she stood, Daniel's jacket still draped smugly over her shoulders, her perfume swirling in the air. Her earlier act of pitiful shivers had vanished. Out here, away from Daniel's gaze, she no longer looked fragile. She looked victorious. I wanted to talk to you privately, she said, stepping closer, heels clicking against the tiled floor. As Daniel's real friend. His lifelong friend. You don't need to misunderstand what you saw back there. Misunderstand? I raised an eyebrow. You mean drinking from his cup, wearing his jacket, feeding him shrimp? Clara, I didn't misunderstand a thing. Her lips curved, amusement flickering in her eyes. You knew, Elena. You don't understand how things are. Daniel and I grew up together. We've been through everything. You're just a temporary phase. A girlfriend. Replaceable. The audacity of her words almost made me laugh. Replaceable. I repeated. Clara lifted her chin, eyes gleaming with superiority. You know it's true. You don't belong in his circle. They'll never truly accept you. To them I'm family. Daniel's always been there for me. We're closer than siblings. That's why we share everything. Cups, jackets, even, she paused for effect, smiling coyly. Even secrets you'll never know. A sharp ache pulsed behind my ribs, but I refused to let it show. I folded my arms, leaning casually against the railing. If you're so sure of your place in his life, I said coolly, Then tell me, Clara, why isn't he with you? Her smile faltered. I tilted my head, pressing the wound. If Daniel loves you so much, if you're his real partner, then why did he choose me instead? Could it be, he never wanted you? For a split second her face twisted, the mask cracking. Her hands clenched into fists at her sides, knuckles whitening. You don't know what you're talking about, she snapped, her voice rising. Oh, I think I do. I let a thin smile play on my lips. You've been circling him for years, haven't you? Playing the innocent friend, the selfless sister. And still, when it came time for him to pick someone, he didn't pick you. Must sting, doesn't it? Her breath hitched audibly. Shut up. Or what? You'll run back inside and cry about how I bullied you. I pushed off the railing and stepped closer, lowering my voice to a whisper that sliced sharper than a blade. You can play your little games in there, but don't mistake me for a fool. I see exactly what you're doing. You're not harmless, Clara. You're desperate. Her eyes widened, then narrowed into slits. Daniel will never believe you. He knows me better than he knows you. I chuckled. Maybe. But it doesn't matter. Because I don't need Daniel to believe me. I only need you to remember something. I leaned in close enough that my breath stirred a strand of her hair. You're not fighting me for him. You're fighting me for my patience. And trust me, Clara, once that runs out, you'll regret ever testing me. Her composure shattered. She shoved past me with a strangled sound, heels clattering violently as she stormed back inside. I stayed where I was, watching her retreating figure through the glass. She would return to her performance, crocodile tears ready, her pitiful act polished to perfection. Daniel would probably buy it. Maybe his friends would too. But I had seen her true face. And now she knew I wasn't afraid to call it out. I exhaled, my lips curling in a cold smile. So that's how it is. Daniel wasn't blind. He wasn't naive. He liked it. The attention, the petty rivalry, the feeling of being wanted by two women. He thought it made him irresistible. Let him think so. Claire wanted a game I'd play. But I wouldn't be the weak girlfriend standing by while her boyfriend's bestie ran circles around her. It was time to flip the board. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I landed on a familiar name. Julian Price. Julian, my neighbor since childhood. 2 years younger. The boy who used to follow me around like a shadow, who cried at the smallest scolding, who always clung to me with big pitiful eyes. My friends teased him for being dramatic, called him my green tea little brother. But I knew one thing for certain. Julian never failed to put on a show. My thumbs moved quickly over the keyboard. Me sis is in trouble. Come rescue me. Bring your best acting skills. I hit send. If Daniel and Clara wanted to put me in a farce, then fine. I'd turn it into their worst nightmare. I slipped my phone back into my clutch, squared my shoulders and re-entered the private room. The party buzzed on as though nothing had happened. Clara, back in her role, sat huddled with Daniel, still draped in his jacket, laughing softly at something he said. Daniel looked at her with that easy warmth that used to make me feel special. But not tonight. Tonight I was done being the audience to their play. My reinforcements were on the way. The laughter inside the private dining room was beginning to grate on my nerves when the door burst open again. Elena. The voice was high-pitched, pitiful, and just loud enough to pull every head in the room toward the entrance. There he was, Julian Price. My so-called childhood little brother, though he was only 2 years younger. His hair was slightly disheveled, his eyes suspiciously red, as though he'd sprinted here straight from heartbreak itself. He spotted me instantly, and before I could blink, he rushed across the room. He threw himself at me with the enthusiasm of a drowning man finding land. Elena, I'm devastated. His voice broke, loud enough for everyone to hear. She dumped me. Right before finals too. What am I supposed to do? The room fell into stunned silence. Forks paused halfway to mouths. Julian buried his face against my shoulder, arms wrapped tight around my waist like a child seeking comfort. I'm so sad. I can't take it anymore. Sis, you have to save me. You're the only one I can rely on. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught Daniel stiffen. His smile froze and his glass thudded against the table harder than necessary. Clara, however, was practically glowing, her eyes shining with the thrill of fresh drama. I patted Julian's back lightly, schooling my face into sympathy. Oh no, you poor thing. Julian sniffled, rubbing his cheek against my shoulder as though trying to drown in the performance. She left me, Elena. I can't even eat without thinking of her. I was walking past this restaurant, saw your message and... His voice cracked again. Please don't leave me alone tonight. The sheer theatricality almost made me laugh. Almost. Daniel finally found his voice. Julian. His tone was sharp, laced with irritation. What are you doing here? Julian pulled back just enough to glance at Daniel, then quickly looked back at me, his eyes shimmering pitifully. I didn't want to intrude, but... Elena's the only one who understands me. She's like family. She always has been. Family. The same word Clara had used earlier. I nearly applauded. I helped Julian into the empty chair beside me. Sit, eat something. You look like you haven't had a proper meal in days. He gave me a watery smile, then immediately reached for the glass in front of me, lifting it to his lips. Gasps rippled around the table. Julian set it down with exaggerated embarrassment. Oh. I didn't even notice this was yours, Elena. I'm so careless, but you don't mind, right? We used to share everything when we were younger. His lower lip trembled slightly. Do you dislike me now? He looked every bit the abandoned puppy, tail tucked, eyes wide. I ruffled his hair affectionately, playing my role to perfection. Of course not. Don't be silly. You can drink from my glass anytime. A vein in Daniel's temple twitched visibly. Clara's smile faltered. For once she wasn't the one holding the spotlight. The servers arrived with another platter of shrimp, steam rising into the air. Julian immediately rolled up his sleeves with grave determination. Elena, you shouldn't have to peel these yourself. You always cut your fingers. Let me do it for you. Before I could protest, he was already peeling, working with surprising speed. He carefully placed one into my bowl, his expression solemn. Here. At least let me do this much for you. I picked it up, chewed slowly and smiled. It's delicious. You're getting good at this. Julian's face lit up like a child receiving praise. Really? Then I'll peel more for you. He dumped another into my bowl. The table was so quiet you could hear the clink of shells against porcelain. Finally, Daniel slammed his chopsticks down. Enough. His voice was low, dangerous. Julian, what exactly do you think you're doing? Julian blinked at him innocently. What do you mean? Elena's always taken care of me. Isn't it natural I take care of her now? We're just friends. Pure friendship, right? He tilted his head like he truly didn't understand. The words sliced through the room. Daniel's jaw clenched. I leaned back in my chair, swirling my glass leisurely, and offered Daniel the sweetest smile I could muster. What's wrong, Daniel? Didn't you say men and women can have pure friendship? I'm just comforting my friend. Why so upset? His face darkened to crimson, but he had no retort. Clara finally tried to intervene, her voice pitched high with false concern. Elena, don't you think this is a bit inappropriate? Sitting so close, sharing cups, peeling food, people might misunderstand. I raised an eyebrow. Oh. And when you drank from Daniel's glass, fed him shrimp and wore his jacket, were we supposed to believe that was pure innocence? Funny, isn't it, how standards change depending on who's doing it? Clara's face flushed. That's different. I've known Daniel forever. We're like family. I smiled sweetly. Exactly. And Julian's like family to me. Julian, bless him, chose that moment to sniff dramatically and rest his head on my shoulder. Elena, I don't know what I'd do without you. The tension in the room was electric. Daniel's friends exchanged uneasy glances, whispering behind their hands. Some smirked openly, enjoying the spectacle. Daniel, however, looked like he might explode. Elena, he said tightly, his voice low enough that only those closest could hear. This isn't funny. I turned to him, eyes wide with faux innocence. Funny? I'm not laughing. I'm just trying to be a good friend. Isn't that what you wanted from me? His chair screeched as he shoved it back, standing abruptly. We'll talk later, he muttered, his voice shaking with restrained anger. I raised my glass in mock salute. Sure, Daniel. Later. Julian stifled a laugh against my shoulder, and I hid my own smile behind the rim of my glass. Round one was over. And I was winning. The dining room had never felt so suffocating. A low buzz of awkward laughter hung in the air, the kind that came when people were desperate to pretend they weren't witnessing a train wreck in real time. Julian still clung to me with theatrical fragility, his head tipped against my shoulder, while I absent-mindedly ruffled his hair. He played the role so well it almost made me forget it was all an act. Almost. Daniel, however, looked ready to combust. His jaw worked, his fists clenched at his sides. I'd seen him angry before, at strangers, at bad drivers, even at professors, but never at me. Tonight, for the first time, his fury was pointed directly in my direction. Elena. His voice was tight, low, but sharp enough to cut through the murmurs. Enough. Stop this nonsense. I tilted my head, feigning innocence. Stop what? Julian just went through a breakup. I'm comforting him. Isn't that what friends are for? Daniel's face darkened. Comforting doesn't mean letting him hang all over you. Look at yourself. He's holding you like... He cut himself off as if even voicing the thought was too much. It's inappropriate. I raised an eyebrow. Inappropriate? Daniel, didn't you say men and women can have pure friendship? Isn't that what you told me about you and Clara? The name hit the table like a thunderclap. Clara stiffened, her fork clattering against her plate. That's different, Daniel snapped. Oh. I leaned back in my chair, swirling my glass lazily. Different how? Clara drinks from your cup, wears your jacket, feeds you shrimp. And you call it friendship. Julian drinks from my cup, peels shrimp for me, leans on me, yet suddenly it's scandalous. I let my voice turn sharp. Why is it pure when it's you but improper when it's me? Silence. Only the clinking of ice in someone's glass filled the space. Clara's eyes brimmed with tears, manufactured of course. She pressed a hand to her chest, her voice quivering. Elena, please don't twist things. Daniel and I are like family. I would never cross boundaries. I thought you understood that. Her bottom lip trembled, her shoulders shook ever so slightly. To anyone who didn't know better, she looked like the picture of wounded innocence. Logan, Daniel's ever-loyal friend, jumped in immediately. Elena, come on. Don't make this ugly. Everyone knows Clara's like a sister to Daniel. You girls are always so jealous. Petty, really. I laughed. Sharp, humorless. Petty? If Clara's a sister, then why does she look at me like she's won a prize every time she clings to him? Clara gasped, covering her mouth. Her eyes shone with unshed tears. Why are you saying this? I've never thought of Daniel that way. You're being cruel. Daniel shot me a look, sharp with disappointment. Elena. Enough. Apologize to her. The words struck harder than I expected. Apologize. To Clara? After everything she'd done right in front of me? Julian shifted beside me, his grip on my hand tightening in silent outrage. His voice trembled as he piped up. Why should Elena apologize? She hasn't done anything wrong. Daniel's glare snapped to him. Stay out of this. This is between us. Julian shrank slightly, his pitiful act blending seamlessly with genuine hurt. He leaned his head against me again, murmuring loud enough for everyone to hear. See? No one ever defends Elena. They all gang up on her. I can't stand it. Gasps rippled around the table. Daniel's friends exchanged looks. Some uncomfortable, some smirking at the chaos. Logan sneered. Listen to yourself. You're just some kid clinging to her. Don't overstep. Julian's eyes welled with tears, his lips quivering. I'm not overstepping. I care about her. He turned his gaze up to me, his expression so pitiful it could melt ice. Don't cry, Elena. You're not wrong. I almost laughed out loud. He was too good at this. Daniel, however, was seething. He slammed his palm against the table. Elena. I'm asking you one last time, get him off you. I straightened in my seat, meeting his gaze head-on. And I'm asking you, Daniel, why should I? When Clara clings to you, when she drinks your water, when she plays pitiful, you call it friendship. But when Julian does the same, you call it betrayal. Why? Because in your world, your comfort matters, but mine doesn't. He flinched ever so slightly. But he didn't back down. Elena, he said, softer now, like a man trying to salvage ground. Clara and I, there's nothing between us. You're imagining things. But this with Julian, it doesn't look right. You have to see that. I shook my head slowly, a bitter smile tugging at my lips. No, Daniel. I see it perfectly. You don't want me jealous. You want me fighting. You enjoy this little triangle. You like being the man in the middle, adored by both sides. But let me tell you something. I leaned forward, my voice dropping into ice. I don't play games I can't win. And I don't fight battles that aren't worth it. For the first time that evening, Daniel faltered. His face slackened as though he wasn't sure what I meant. But I knew. In that moment, a quiet clarity washed over me. This wasn't love. This was vanity. Daniel didn't care about me, not really. He cared about the way I looked at him, the way Clara looked at him, the way the world revolved around him. He didn't want a partner. He wanted an audience. And I was done performing. I leaned back, sipping from my glass as though nothing had happened. Beside me, Julian squeezed my hand, his eyes sparkling with pride, though he masked it with another sniffle. Daniel sat frozen, his friends whispering, Clara dabbing delicately at imaginary tears. The whole table was suspended in awkward silence. But inside me, a switch had flipped. I was already plotting my exit. The night of Daniel's birthday ended in brittle silence. By the time the cake was served, I'd lost all interest in the forced smiles and hollow chatter. Julian kept up his performance beside me until we finally excused ourselves. I didn't look back once when we left the restaurant. For a brief moment I thought the storm was over. I was wrong. The next morning my phone buzzed endlessly. Notifications flooded in from group chats, classmates, and even acquaintances I hadn't spoken to in years. At first I ignored them, assuming it was the usual birthday aftermath gossip. But when I finally opened my messages, my stomach dropped. Screenshots. Threads. Anonymous posts. So this is what campus goddess Elena really is. Already had a boyfriend but bringing another guy to cling to her? Shameless. That Julian kid. Thought he was cold and pure. Turns out he's a green tea homewrecker. Disgusting. Imagine ruining someone's birthday like that. Attention-seeking much. The words clawed at the screen, each one nastier than the last. I scrolled further, bile rising in my throat. Someone had posted blurry photos from the party. Julian's head against my shoulder, my hand ruffling his hair, his chopsticks dropping shrimp into my bowl. Out of context it looked damning. The comments poured in like acid. Look at how intimate they are. Doesn't look like siblings to me. Daniel deserves better. No wonder Clara's his true friend. Julian was just acting pitiful to steal someone else's girlfriend. Classic male green tea move. Julian Price, the golden boy of the underclassmen, the aloof junior everyone admired, was being dragged through the mud because of me. I threw my phone down, pressing my palms to my eyes. Rage boiled in my chest. Clara. It had to be Clara. She had the motive, the smugness, and now the perfect excuse to frame me. A knock rattled my dorm room door. Elena. Julian's voice, soft but shaky. I opened it to find him standing there, shoulders hunched, cap pulled low over his face. His usual brightness was dimmed, shadows under his eyes. He stepped inside, wordlessly holding up his own phone. They're calling me, his voice cracked. He cleared his throat and tried again. They're calling me a homewrecker. The word hung heavy in the air. I swallowed hard. Julian. He forced a laugh, brittle around the edges. Funny, isn't it? I used to think being admired was exhausting. Now I'd give anything for them to look at me the way they did yesterday. Before all this, I couldn't stand it. This boy who had always clung to me, always exaggerated his tears, now stood trembling for real. For once he wasn't acting. It's my fault, I whispered. They're only saying these things because of me. His eyes flicked to mine, wide and startled. Don't say that. You didn't. I did. I cut him off. I should have seen it coming. Claire's not stupid. She's manipulative. And Daniel. I bit back the bitterness in my throat. He's letting them feed on this. Because it makes him look like the victim. Julian shook his head, clutching his phone tighter. I can take it. Don't worry about me. But I did worry. Watching him shrink under the weight of rumors, I felt something inside me snap. I opened my laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. If Clara wanted a public spectacle, I would give her one she couldn't control. I logged into my social account and typed. Since everyone's curious, Julian isn't a homewrecker. He's my boyfriend. Spread all the rumors you want, he has nothing to be ashamed of. I hit post before I could second-guess myself. Within seconds my phone buzzed with new notifications. Comments, shares, private messages. What? Julian's voice wavered. He stared at me, eyes wide, face flushed. Elena, you. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling. If they want to drag you, let them drag me too. At least this way you're not their scapegoat. I won't let them ruin you. For once Julian was completely speechless. He blinked, his lips parting then closing again. His cheeks turned red, the tips of his ears burning. You really? He swallowed hard. You just said I'm your boyfriend. It's just a statement, I said briskly, though my heart thudded unevenly. It'll protect you. He pressed a hand to his chest as though calming a racing heart. Slowly, a smile tugged at his lips. Not his usual mischievous grin, but something softer. Fragile. Overjoyed. Elena Ward, he whispered as though testing the weight of the words. Do you know what you've just done? I raised an eyebrow. I've just declared war, that's what. But his gaze lingered on me, shining with something more than gratitude. Something that made my stomach twist. By evening the school forum exploded. Threats multiplied. Elena admitted it herself. She and Julian are together. So Julian wasn't chasing Daniel's girlfriend, he already had one. Clara's the only innocent one here. Some mocked. Some gossiped. Some even congratulated us. But the narrative had shifted. Julian was no longer the sole target. I had dragged the spotlight onto myself willingly. I scrolled through the chaos with grim satisfaction. Clara's plan had backfired. Daniel's silence only fueled the frenzy. And Julian? He sat beside me watching the screen, his hand brushing mine tentatively before pulling away. His voice was low, almost trembling. Elena, if this is a game, I don't want it to end. I turned to him sharply. Julian. But he just smiled, eyes crinkling, his usual theatrics replaced by something achingly genuine. And for the first time I realized this wasn't just an act. For a few days the campus buzzed with the fallout of my declaration. Julian Price, the so-called aloof junior who never let anyone close, was suddenly my boyfriend. People whispered when we walked together. Girls stared. Boys smirked. But beneath the noise I felt the undercurrent building. Clara wasn't the type to sit still after losing face. The storm broke on a Thursday afternoon. I was in the library when my phone began to vibrate with frantic messages. Screenshots, photos, gossip threads. I clicked one at random and froze. There was a hotel room. A dimly lit photo. Daniel sitting on the edge of a bed, shirt unbuttoned, hair disheveled. Beside him, Clara in a silk camisole, her lips painted red, leaning against his shoulder. Both looked flushed. The caption screamed. So this is what Daniel and Clara mean by pure friendship? The comments were savage. Caught in 4K. Still going to claim they're like siblings. No wonder Elena moved on to Julian. At least he looks clean. Clara's tears could win her an Oscar. My chest tightened, but not with heartbreak. With fury. I scrolled further. More screenshots. Chat logs where Daniel messaged Clara late at night. Don't tell Elena. She wouldn't understand. Her replies filled with coy emojis, voice notes of giggles. My hands trembled, not because I was surprised but because I wasn't. I should have known. I had known. Elena. Julian's voice was soft from across the table. He had seen my expression and walked over, phone in hand. His jaw was tight, his usual mischief gone. You saw it too, didn't you? I nodded. Julian pulled the chair beside me, sitting close enough that his shoulder brushed mine. What are you going to do? I clenched my phone in my hand, the anger sharp and clear now. I'm going to end it. Properly. I called Daniel that evening, telling him to meet me at the cafe near campus. He arrived looking worn, his face pale, his hair messier than usual. Elena, he started immediately, reaching for my hand. You have to listen to me. Those photos. I pulled my hand back. Save it. I've seen everything. Screenshots. Hotel room. Chats. So tell me, Daniel, are you still going to say she's just a friend? Do friends end up in hotel rooms together? He winced, running a hand through his hair. We were drunk. We didn't mean for it to happen. It was an accident. I laughed, sharp hollow. An accident? Alcohol must be the most hardworking scapegoat on earth. If you were that drunk, why didn't you collapse in a police station? Why did your legs carry you into a hotel bed? Elena. Don't. My voice cut like glass. Don't insult my intelligence. You knew exactly what you were doing. You enjoyed it. Just like you enjoyed me and Claire fighting over you. You loved playing the victim in the middle. Well, congratulations. You can keep her. I'm done. His face twisted, desperation leaking into his tone. Don't say that. Elena, you mean everything to me. I made a mistake, but I can fix it. Please. I stood. You can't fix what you never valued. This, I gestured between us, was never love. It was your ego trip. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my wrist. Hard. Don't walk away from me. His voice was low, dangerous now. Before I could react, another hand shoved his away. Julian stepped between us, his eyes burning. Let her go. Daniel's nostrils flared. This doesn't concern you. Julian squared his shoulders. He was slimmer, softer, but in that moment he looked unshakable. She's my girlfriend now. Everything about her concerns me. Daniel's eyes darkened. You think you can replace me? Julian didn't flinch. I don't need to replace you. You ruined yourself. I felt my throat tighten. For all his theatrics, Julian's words rang steady, clear like steel hidden under silk. I touched his arm lightly. Let's go. But Daniel wasn't finished. His voice rose, bitter and frantic. You'll regret this, Elena. When you realize he's just using you, when you realize I was the one who truly loved you, you'll come crawling back. I turned one last time, meeting his gaze. No, Daniel. I won't regret leaving you. The only regret I have is wasting this much time thinking you were worth it. And with that I walked out, Julian at my side, his presence a shield against the weight of Daniel's fury. By the weekend the scandal spread everywhere. Clara tried to spin it, posting long-winded notes about misunderstandings, about friendship being misinterpreted. Daniel stayed silent, sulking in shadows. But I didn't need to defend myself anymore. I let the screenshots speak. I forwarded them quietly to the right people, ensuring Daniel's hypocrisy reached every corner of our friend circle. In the group chat, Logan tried to sneer about my pettiness, but even he couldn't deny the evidence. One by one their voices fell silent. Clara's crocodile tears dried up when the ridicule became unbearable. The comments shifted. So much for being pure. Always playing the victim while sneaking around. Elena was right all along. For the first time, Clara's mask cracked publicly. And Daniel? He was left alone in the ruins, his once adoring circle now whispering behind his back. I watched it unfold with a strange calm. I wasn't elated. I wasn't vindicated. I was simply free. Beside me, Julian never let go of my hand. Not when the whispers followed us, not when people stared, not even when Daniel himself tried one last time to corner me outside class. Julian's grip tightened, his voice steady. She's with me. Stay away. And for once Daniel had no words left. The days after the confrontation with Daniel felt strangely calm. I wasn't waking up to his texts anymore. I wasn't rehearsing in my head what excuses I'd accept, or how long I'd forgive him this time. Instead I woke up to freedom, and to opportunity. Because while Daniel and Clara thought they'd buried me with rumors, they forgot one thing. I'd kept receipts. Every photo Clara posed in, every screenshot I'd taken, every recording of her sly remarks. I'd collected them over months. I hadn't planned to use them. At least not until she pushed me too far. No. They were ammunition. One evening, Julian and I sat together in the library study room, the glow of our laptops lighting up our faces. He leaned over my shoulder, watching as I compiled a folder of evidence. Look at this. I pulled up a screenshot of Daniel's late-night message to Clara. Don't tell Elena, she'll overreact. Julian snorted. Overreact? He should have been grateful you didn't bury him alive. I clicked to the next file. Clara's carefully curated social account. Photos of her crying prettily into the camera, captions about unjust rumors, and being misunderstood. The comments were still half in her favor. Poor Clara, always dragged into scandals. Not for long, I murmured, dragging the photos into my folder. Let's show them what misunderstood really looks like. Julian leaned back, crossing his arms. You're terrifying when you plot. I like it. I shot him a look. Focus, Julian. He raised his hands in mock surrender, though the corner of his mouth twitched. By midnight the package was ready. Screenshots, videos, chat logs, even the photo of Daniel and Clara in that hotel room. I drafted a report email attaching the files and sent it to the admissions office of the graduate program Daniel had been bragging about for months. Subject: concerning misconduct of applicant Daniel Cross. I didn't bother signing my name. When I hit send, a curious sense of peace washed over me. Like closing the cover on a book I should have put down ages ago. The fallout came quickly. By the end of the week, Daniel's name was everywhere. But not for reasons he wanted. His graduate admission had been revoked. His internship rescinded. Word spread faster than wildfire. Daniel Cross, once golden boy, was now a scandalous joke. His friends avoided him in the cafeteria. Professors whispered when he walked past. Even the younger students who once admired him, now snickered behind his back. Did you hear? He was caught with his best friend's jacket and his best friend's girlfriend. More like caught with everything except his dignity. I didn't have to lift a finger. The ridicule did the work for me. As for Clara, her empire of lies crumbled overnight. Someone leaked her alternate accounts, the ones she used to stir rumors while pretending to be a neutral observer. Side-by-side comparisons of her innocent posts versus her private ones spread across forums. Her follower count plummeted. Brands quietly deleted collaborations. The final nail came when a student dug up her chat history with Logan, Daniel's ever-loyal friend, filled with shameless flirtation and not-so-subtle hotel arrangements. The screenshots went viral. Wait, so Clara wasn't just playing Daniel? She was juggling Logan too? Green tea upgraded to toxic waste. Logan's girlfriend dumped him in spectacular fashion, right in the campus courtyard. She threw his hoodie at him, slapped him across the face and shouted loud enough for half the school to hear, "Go crawl back to Clara." The crowd erupted in laughter. Logan, red-faced, tried to defend himself. But the more he stammered, the more obvious it was. For once, the man who mocked me for being from a single-parent family was the one standing exposed and humiliated. Julian leaned against a tree watching the scene unfold. "Poetic justice," he whispered, a smile tugging at his lips. I couldn't disagree. Daniel tried, of course, to salvage something. He approached me once after class, his face pale, eyes hollow. "Elena," he said, voice hoarse. "Did you do this? Did you report me?" I looked him dead in the eye. "Does it matter?" His mouth opened, then closed. He looked like a drowning man reaching for air that wouldn't come. Finally, he whispered, "I just wanted you to love me." I almost laughed. "Love you? Daniel, you never wanted love. You wanted worship. You wanted Clara crying on your left shoulder and me forgiving you on your right. That's not love. That's a stage play." He flinched. Around us, students slowed to watch, whispers floating through the air. I let him stand there, crumbling under their eyes while I walked away. Weeks passed and the chaos quieted into a new normal. Daniel stopped showing up to class. Rumor said he'd taken a leave of absence, too humiliated to face anyone. Clara deleted her accounts, retreating into silence. Logan became the punchline of every joke. Me. I walked campus with Julian at my side, his hand often brushing mine, his presence steady and warm. The whispers that followed us weren't cruel anymore. They were curious, amused, even approving. Honestly, Elena upgraded. Julian's been devoted to her forever. We should have seen it coming. They're kind of cute, actually. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was being judged. I felt like I was being seen. Julian leaned close one afternoon as we crossed the quad, his voice low. "You've won, Elena. They can't touch you now." I smiled faintly, though my eyes lingered on the horizon. This wasn't about winning, Julian. It was about reminding me, that I don't lose. He chuckled, his fingers intertwining with mine at last. Still terrifying. Still my favorite person. And for once I let myself believe him. Autumn arrived almost without warning. One morning I woke to see the ginkgo trees lining campus painted gold, their leaves fluttering down in lazy spirals. The air was crisp, the sky endlessly blue. Daniel was gone. He had filed for a leave of absence, and word was he wouldn't be coming back anytime soon. Clara had deleted all her accounts. Logan kept his head down, slinking through the corridors like a stray dog, too ashamed to meet anyone's gaze. The storm had passed. For the first time in months, I walked through campus without feeling 1,000 eyes digging into me. The stairs were still there, yes, but they had changed. They weren't mocking or pitying. They were curious, even admiring. "Elena, you really don't mess around. She's unstoppable." And Julian, God, the way he stands by her. I wish I had that. Julian walked beside me, a step too close, his shoulder brushing mine. He'd stopped pretending to keep distance. Maybe he never had. We were still just friends on paper. My impulsive declaration online, calling him my boyfriend, had been born out of necessity, a weapon to protect him. But the line between performance and reality blurred more each day. He still peeled shrimp for me at dinner. Still texted me good morning before I even opened my eyes. Still clung to me with that pitiful smile whenever I tried to walk away. But beneath the theatrics I sensed something steadier now. A quiet strength. A patience that outlasted everything. And it terrified me. Because deep down I knew I was starting to want it. The annual campus cultural festival arrived in late October. Stalls lined the walkways, students selling homemade snacks, hosting games, performing songs on temporary stages. The air buzzed with energy, laughter, and the smell of fried dough. Julian found me at my dorm early that morning, holding 2 cups of hot milk tea. He handed me one with a shy grin. Fuel for the day. You'll need it. Thanks, I said, sipping. Sweet warm. What's the occasion? He shrugged. You'll see. We spent the afternoon wandering from stall to stall. He insisted on winning me a stuffed rabbit at the ring toss, failing miserably for 5 rounds before finally landing one with triumphant glee. He carried it for me the rest of the day, cradling it like a prized trophy. When evening fell, the main stage lit up with fairy lights strung overhead. Students gathered for the closing performances. Music, speeches, a surprise dance routine from the student council. The crowd cheered, clapped, swayed to the rhythm. And then the MC's voice boomed. Next up, a special performance, dedicated to someone very important. I froze. Julian stepped onto the stage. He wasn't holding a guitar or a microphone. He wasn't holding anything at all. He just walked to the center, the spotlight catching his face, and picked up the mic. His voice was steady, clear, carrying across the silent crowd. My name is Julian Price. Most of you know me, or at least think you do. You've heard rumors about me. About Elena. About what we are or aren't. I don't care about the rumors. I only care about the truth. My heart hammered in my chest. He turned, his eyes locking on mine across the crowd. The truth is, I've liked Elena since the day she chased off the kids who bullied me when I was little. She was the first person who ever protected me. The first person I ever wanted to protect in return. I called her sister for years because I didn't know how else to keep her close. But she's not my sister. She's the girl I love. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers spread like wildfire. Julian smiled, not pitiful, not dramatic, but bright and unshakable. From now on, Elena Ward, you're not my sister. You're my girlfriend. And one day, if you'll let me, you'll be my everything. The crowd erupted. Cheers, applause, whistles. I stood rooted to the ground, breath caught in my throat. He'd exposed everything. Publicly. Boldly. And somehow it felt like the bravest, most genuine thing I'd ever seen him do. After the performance, I found him backstage, still flushed from the lights. He rubbed the back of his neck nervously. Too much. I shook my head slowly, still stunned. You really just said that in front of everyone? He laughed softly. Well, you already called me your boyfriend online. I figured it was time I caught up. I stared at him. At the boy who used to cling to me like a shadow. At the man who now stood, shoulders squared, eyes steady, waiting for my answer. Julian, I whispered. Was it always real for you? Not just an act? Not just theatrics? His eyes softened. Always. Every pitiful look, every clingy moment. Sure, maybe I exaggerated sometimes. But the feelings behind them, they were real. They've always been real. Something inside me gave way. I stepped forward, pressing my hand against his chest, feeling the rapid thud of his heart. Then fine. From now on, I'll stop pretending too. His eyes widened. You mean? I kissed him. Just a brush of lips at first, trembling, tentative. But when he froze in shock, I smiled against his mouth. Yes, idiot. You're my boyfriend. His arms wrapped around me instantly, pulling me close, his laughter muffled against my hair. Finally, he whispered. Finally, you're mine. The next day we posted a photo together. Fingers intertwined, smiles unguarded. The caption was mine. This is the male lead of my story. Within minutes, the likes flooded in. Comments poured down like confetti. Called it. They're perfect together. Elena deserves happiness after all that mess. Julian's been in love with her forever, this is destiny. I turned off notifications after an hour. The world could say what it wanted. I didn't care anymore. For the first time in months I felt light. Unburdened. I wasn't Daniel's girlfriend. I wasn't Clara's rival. I wasn't the victim of rumors. I was Elena Ward, free, radiant, and finally choosing love on my own terms. And this time I knew it was real. The end.